We bring you Belmont Buzz today from our home studio because we can't be in the actual studio, Belmont Media Center. It's been 7 weeks since the stay-at-home advisory, and I have to say I really miss the studio. I really miss seeing everyone in person, but for now, this is what we're going to do. It's a Zoom Belmont Buzz. So welcome, thank you for tuning in. And today I have two very special guests. They're people in Belmont that I have to say I really admire. They're just the nicest people. And they are Steve and Debi Rosales. Steve is pretty famous around Belmont. He grew up in Belmont, lived here for 60 years. And he's a lawyer, he's an attorney, Rosales and Rosales. His office is on Trapello Road, right in Cushing Square. And he was also a select board member. And currently he serves on the Belmont Historical Society, along with his wife, Debi. And Debi, I have to say, is also one of the nicest people I know in Belmont. She's a transplant. She's originally from Northborough, but she moved here when she married Steve. They raised their 3 children here. They live in the Winbrook neighborhood, and they've experienced a lot of Belmont's history, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome, Steve and Debi.
Oh, thank you, Joanna.
Welcome. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you for having us from the comfort of our living room couch.
You both look very well. Well, let's talk about what the Belmont Historical Society is doing. How did you both get involved in the Belmont Historical Society?
We were asked. We always knew it was around. We'd see those little, we always knew of the Belmont, the Claflin room in the library since I was a kid.
How long have you been
joined as
involved?
members. Pardon?
How long have you been on the board?
I don't know, 5 years, I think.
I volunteer on Mondays, on Mondays in the Claflin room. And if anybody ever comes in and wants to do some research on anything about Belmont, and we really work well together in the Claflin room. Plus, I do some jobs on the as a board member doing that. So that's what I do.
She bakes. She's in charge of all the goodies that Jeremy sees at all the programs when he tapes them.
Well, I think it's definitely an asset. I was on the board for a short time. What you're doing right now, which I think is really important for people to know, is you're recording this moment in Belmont's history, which is unprecedented and, hopefully will be a faint blur in our memories, but it is important, when it's over, but it is important to remember. So as you can see from my background, look at Belmont Center. It rarely looks like this. It looks like a ghost town. There's, ample parking. The stores are closed. There's no traffic. I mean, this is something that we really should record. So, people are afraid to go out and take pictures, but you can even take pictures in your own home of like your, where you're working, what your kids are doing.
I think it's titled History in the Making. We want to try to archive and preserve certain things, because if you go down the Claflin room, it's pretty amazing. If you wanted to find out what went on 100 years ago, May 1st, 1920, you could actually go down there, and in the back magically appears all kinds of things. Newspaper clippings, press releases, memorabilia. It captures the moment. This is a crazy moment or period here. So we're asking people, to the extent they want to, pictures, YouTube videos. We're now in a digital age. Who knew that you'd have to have appointed hours to go to the grocery store, and you couldn't talk to your neighbors, and going to CVS to get your medication was risky. You just don't like to do it. And going to Belmont Center, I feel so bad because, all those restaurants and all those things that we took for granted are just not there anymore. I don't know how they're going to survive.
Yeah.
People are out of work, but you have to FaceTime. You can't see your relatives. You mentioned my daughters or any of the friends. I mean, my mom I have to see from the balcony. My kids, I have to look through the storm door through a car window. It's like being in the zoo. So if people are out there, now we probably have a lot of smart people. We have budding writers, but if people are keeping journals or if people are keeping little little memos or little notes on their calendar of what they do or what they don't do. That's the type of information, capture the moment. YouTube and videos, of course, nowadays. But I'll go back to the old days. Pen to paper, a journal, a diary, letters back and forth to people if that's what they're doing, photos, home videos. Okay, well, we have, it's in an email or good old-fashioned mail. We do have a website, belmonthistoricalsociety.org, O-R-G.
There is an email. It's belmonthistory1859@gmail.com. That's where you can
Correct.
send digital photos and videos. The address is the Belmont Historical Society if you want to mail physical things. P.O. Box 125, Belmont, Mass. 02478. And the website is belmonthistoricalsociety.org. So the Belmont Story Project, which is a collaboration between the Belmont Public Library, the Belmont Media Center, Belmont Citizen Herald, and Council on Aging. They have an actual online journal, because Belmont Story Project, if you don't know, is a podcast. You may or may not know that. People meet in the classroom room and do the interview face-to-face, but it's a podcast. And we're not able to do that right now. So this is another good way of recording history, is through this online journal that the Belmont Public Library has a link to on their website. So I think it'll be great. And you could submit once a day. You can submit as often as you want. It really is a time that I really think should be remembered. And the time's going fast. I mean, it's been 7 weeks already. And things may start to open back up before we know it and slowly get back to normal. But I don't think they'll be back to normal for a while. I think we're going to see people wearing masks for a long time and gloves. And let's talk about all the milestones that the kids are missing because schools are closed and because of this virus. And you, Steve, you went through all these milestones yourself as a kid. You've lived in Belmont since you were 4. So you went through the elementary graduation, you went through the middle school graduation and the high school graduation, and your kids did too. So tell me about your memories of those times and what these kids, it looks like they're going to be missing out on a lot of that because a lot of it is probably going to be virtual, or it might be postponed. There may be no prom at all.
I grew up at the corner of Brighton and Cross Street at the Lights here in Winbrook. I haven't gone very far. I went to the Winbrook School back when it was up to the 6th grade. But when you were a sixth grader at Winbrook, that was a big time. You had, 6th grade, you were sort of the kings of the school, or the kings and queens of the school.
Right.
And you were looking forward to then junior high, 7, 8, and 9, which was the big kids that used to be on the playground. Those were the big kids. But we had our field day, we had our, outside lunch or little cookout and those types of things. We got the big trip to walk through the middle or the junior high to visit it as we prepared to go. And we had our little classroom, little graduation ceremonies sort of within the Winbrook School. Then up to the junior high, gym class was different. We were now 14, 13, 14. Our voices were starting to change and speak. I got out in 1969. I was the last graduating 9th grade class out of the then junior high school, because the high school had burned at that point in time, and they were building it, and it came online after some double sessions. Then we occupied in 10th grade, I think February, the then new high school, now going to be the old high school. And then, of course, I enjoyed my senior year. That was, I think I was one of the class officers in senior year. We had our senior banquet.
Did you have a prom?
We did have a prom. I went to a couple of proms, but we had our senior prom. I think it was just an old-fashioned love song. I think that might have been the theme, because we're talking mid 70s.
Do you still have a lot of classmates around town?
We do. It's a surprising amount. Actually, you can see us from time to time down at Conley's, where we have sort of informal. One of our classmates sort of has the email chain, and he will organize from occasional time to time little mini reunions, if you will. Have a cup of cheer and a slice of pizza or a burger. And
what year did you graduate Belmont High?
1973.
1973. What do you
Yeah, we're
remember
coming
about
up
your
on 50
graduation?
years in a couple of years. We've had our 45th. Actually, it was a 46th because no one ran the 45th. But somebody picked up the ball and had a 46th reunion.
Well, what do you remember about your graduation day?
Well, we had senior skip day. There's a lot of stuff that led up to it. We had the senior class play, which whether you could act or not, there was always a place for it was one of those dancing, I think it was the Impossible Years or something. So there was a lot of extras and some dancing. And so everybody sort of got to have a little FaceTime up there. And that was a fun item just to do that. And the cast party was something. I mean, that sort of was the culmination. We had the senior banquet. We had the awards ceremony. We had, of course, the infamous senior skip day. Actually, I think I was banned from the PA because I announced it in special code, but the assistant principal knew. I think I said, no, remember seniors, tomorrow is, Wednesday, June 1st or whatever it was. And of course, everybody had a suspension because everybody knew. But
Right, and then your kids also went through all these
yeah, we had prom, we had
traditions.
graduation, then we had the very first all-night graduation party.
Oh, yeah, right.
So,
Which I don't think our kids will
these
have.
are things that, we have a neighbor, a young man across the street is a senior. There's a plaque out there now that says, this is a Belmont High School senior lives here. And all those things, all those fun times, all those getting the yearbooks, all those signing everybody else's yearbook and getting the little pictures. So I don't know if they have them now. Everybody has phones now, but we used to get the graduation senior pictures, and you could buy those little wallet ones. You know what I'm talking about? And you could trade them like trading cards, like people would want my mug nowadays. But in any event, all that stuff, I feel so bad because that's where it is. That's supposed to be the greatest summer. It's supposed to be your high school graduation. You have your graduation parties, and you're supposed to then have your summer job, and then it's the big goodbye before everybody goes, to college or away or to work or wherever they're going. Those are where really the memories are at least to me.
That's right. You got a senior too.
I have two seniors, a college graduate and a high school graduate.
Oh.
And what I'm hoping is that they can at least postpone some of these events so that they can still experience them, but I know they won't experience them as the traditional way. I think they'll have to wear masks, they'll have to stay 6 feet apart, because I don't think this virus will go away for at least a year until they get a vaccine.
It's sad for the kids, of course, but it's just as sad for the parents and the grandparents. I mean, these are big things. When you're graduating, is this your first one that's graduating?
First college and first college graduate, second high school graduate.
So it's a double whammy for you, but the big culmination is watching your son or daughter or your child get the diploma. You want to see them actually witness walking across the stage and getting handed a diploma. I know my father from my younger brother graduated BU, and when they called his name, it was he had to work his way through. It was an effort for my brother.
Yeah.
But my dad, God rest his soul, when he called my brother's name and you actually watched him put the sheepskin in his hand, he cried like a baby. But those are proud moments. Pictures.
And parents, right? Parents and
parents and the grandparents. These are milestones in families' lives. So you can send the diploma in the mail, but you really lose whatever
the hard work that
pride and a recognition. It's the personal recognition of all this. It's just so sterile now.
I think that this generation is going to it's a scar, but it's also something that will maybe change them in a way that's good. Maybe they'll appreciate things that other generations wouldn't have appreciated as much. A lot of history lost, but back to what we're talking about here, it's history that we need to record, even though it's not the history we want. We should still record all these things, like I actually sent in a picture of the TV screen in my family room showing a virtual church service. I had to watch all the church services for Greek Easter on TV. It wasn't the same, right, Steve? I don't know if
it's not. It's never the same.
The
The personal contact and the and just the interaction. You know, those that know me, I'm really not a shrinking violet. I like to I like to interact with people.
Absolutely.
They like to interact with me is another story. But you know, people are resilient. People will rally for a common good and a common cause.
Such as the hope signs in the background, in my background.
Correct. Our good friend Dante Mazzioli had that. He hung a banner up there. It's now expanded. Actually, I saw him this morning running around in the rain. Everybody wants a hope sign. You know, the reaction has been good, but without
Great
hope,
message.
what do you got? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you have to have that. You know, when I see, you know, we have our routine, and I watch the governor on TV, I watch the president on TV, but I want to hear hope. I don't want to hear just a scoreboard of people who've died and a scoreboard of, because that's what it is, like keeping score. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear how we're going to come out of this. I want to hear that there's something on the other side. I want to hear praise for the workers that no one really gave much thought to in the past. The ones that sort of work behind the scenes, that without which none of us that are quarantined at home would be, we would be able to deal with this or survive. I mean, yes, there's the front line, there's the nurses, there's the doctors, there's the EMTs, the grocery clerks, the truck drivers, the mailman,
The
the
people who are
warehouse
out
workers,
there in the thick
the
of it.
ones that are
Right.
packing the boxes of the stuff that we order.
Yes. Yes.
Those are the people. You know, I worked my way through college and law school for 6 or 7 years at the old First National. Actually, it's in the building right behind you where Stoneheart Pizza was. It was the grocery store in Belmont Center, the supermarket in Belmont Center.
Mhm.
And, you know, I put peas on the shelf and I stocked the shelves and I unload the trucks and the boxes. And, you know, it put myself through school, but it wasn't prestigious work. You know, some customers were nice, some were mean. But without those people, you know, they're out there every day. We wouldn't have food. Couldn't
Some
be
of
able
them
to
have
do that.
died as a result of being
Some
out
have
there.
passed away. A
Yes.
poor lady down in Belmont
Oh.
Center, the Star Market.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of Belmont Manor people.
you have to appreciate those people. And even if we're online, who do you think packs the boxes? Who do you think goes to the warehouse? Who do you think puts the stuff in the boxes and packs it and mails it and ships it and
Yeah, I
picks
think
it
the
up and
post
delivers
office
it?
people should be
I
applauded.
mean, all those people that have been underappreciated are now, quite frankly, the most important people in many of our lives.
Make sure you say thank you every time you go in there.
So,
I agree.
you know,
I agree.
you know, but then there's a spirit, positive. It's a soliloquy. You know, you put me on your show, but sorry about that. But that's on you. But I see a positive spirit. We're all moaning and groaning of what we can't do and what's closed. But I think there's a common goal and a common ideology that we're going to beat this thing, and we have to stay strong, and we have to help
Have
our
hope.
neighbors. We have to have hope. We have to help people that we probably have never talked to before. We have to do those random acts of kindness that we all talk about. One funny thing is I've learned with masks, I'd be a very bad burglar or a bad, because even with this huge mask on, people say, "Hey, Steve, how you doing?" I'm very recognizable.
Recognizable, even with the mask.
Despite I've had baseball hats and sunglasses and a full mask, and people will say, "Steve, how's it going over there on Farm Street?" I'd be a very poor burglar.
I would like to see us have a new normal, and the new normal being, you know, spending quality time with family, spending more time at home, maybe working from home more so that traffic can be reduced, because it's definitely made a difference.
I don't know, Joanna. I like him when he goes to work.
You know, right?
She'll never let me retire for that reason.
No.
This is like an experiment in retirement.
Yes.
And it's going okay, but not stellar.
So just to recap the importance of recording this time in history. Steve, I know you've lived in Belmont for 60 years, and I I'm quite sure I can say you probably don't have a memory of anything like this in those 60 years. Am I right?
You are totally correct.
But the Historical Society does have clippings and articles from newspapers in the Belmont Public Library as well, from the Spanish flu, which I would say is probably the most comparable to what we're experiencing now, that pandemic, which happened in the
1818.
how you can actually go to the library and go to the Historical Society Claflin room, and you can find articles about it, photos from that time. I believe Steve Cairns, someone that we both know, Steve, recently shared some photos on Facebook. So why don't the two of you talk about that?
Well, those were pretty compelling photos. They were, I think it was on the old school Boston site, but it was here, Boston, Belmont. People were wearing, it's amazing because there were big signs that said until further notice, no restaurants were open, closed, theaters, churches, meetings, large gatherings, they were all closed. So said the sign per order of Board of Health or whatever, some officials said. Everybody was in the pictures had face coverings, bandanas, masks. The sadness was the illness and the death that was brought as a result of that.
And wasn't it killing?
And really, the only thing difference was the make and model of the cars, of the ambulances, quite frankly, that separated. You could, but for the make and model of the cars, or the vehicles, you could say that was just a black and white or sepia tone picture of today, Leonard Street today, or in front of the Mount Auburn Hospital today. It seemed to be a worldwide pandemic, but at least in this country, I mean, there's been Ebola, and there's been SARS, and the swine flu, and H1N1.
And this is another thing people can take photos of, the fact that shelves where there's toilet paper are empty. You can't get toilet paper. You can't get meat now. So this is all stuff that's important to record, take photos.
Looks like Eastern European in the time of war a lot of times. I mean, it was interesting because I go through it. I know my grocery from my time in the grocery store. I know my prices. I know how to lay it out. I've learned a lot in the retail business in those 6 or 7 years. But what was interesting, you go in there, the pasta shelf is wiped out. The canned soup aisle is wiped out. The paper goods are wiped out. Of course, all the sanitation and disinfecting products are wiped out. The meat, the ground meat, and the basic, this hamburger and the basic chicken seems to be wiped out. It's not supposed to happen. But those are the perishable, non-perishable items that, boxed milk, canned milk. I was looking at coffee, tea, those type of things that will last forever. And of course, water. I don't know why people think we're going to run out of water, but all that stuff is disappearing.
You can't even get masks or latex gloves as well, the things that you want to use to protect yourself. And now Pepsid is a hot item because the news reported that an ingredient in Pepsid, an over-the-counter drug, could help.
If it doesn't cure corona, it'll keep you from agita.
Well, you can't get it now. I'm sorry. It's nowhere to be found.
I'm saving a lot of money though. We're trying to help our restaurants.
That's true. We are saving money.
I'm not out twice a week eating out a big meal. Debbie and I don't have our big date night. We don't have our let's go to the steakhouse, or let's go to the Capitol Grill, or let's go to the Chateau, or let's just go to Conley's, or you spend all your money and you see the people, but all that disposable income. We're eating better. I don't know if I'm losing any weight, but I haven't gained much. I haven't gained the COVID-19, as they say.
I know.
But
COVID-19, I love it. I love it. How about sending a commentary to the Belmont Citizen Herald, Steve?
I could do that. I don't know if you would like it. You could take your editor's blue pen and hack it up. But I have plenty of time. I've thought about it. How many words can I live? Maybe it'll be a series.
Are you able to see your children? Have you been seeing them?
From afar. We just basically, they live close by, and we just basically see them from afar. You know, they'll stop at the door and drop things off, or we'll stop over to one of our daughter's house and drop off some things. We see her from our porch. We have not had a full, you know, connection whatsoever. Easter was interesting.
Really? What did you do for Easter?
What I did for Easter, as you know, Stephen has a tradition of Greek Easter on Easter, actually. You know, the lamb on orzo, the butternut squash, green beans, the Greek salad. Stephen made the pasticcio. He made that.
Really?
Yeah.
I did.
Me too. We'll have to have a competition and see whose pasticcio is better, because I celebrate
pasticcio off. Yes.
And I made, you know, the spinach pie that we always had, and I put it together. And I'm telling you, you know, as a takeout, and my daughter Danielle came and picked it up and dropped off for his mom. And
takeout Greek Easter.
Yeah, it was. We dropped it off to all the girls because they live close by. We dropped it all off to their place, and we had believe it or not, we had a Zoom Easter dinner.
Everybody microwaved it at the appointed time.
You're
and
kidding.
we all Zoomed.
That's so great.
And you know, we sat here in the living room, and everybody had their dinner, and as best we could.
We try to keep the traditions. Stephen actually made the egg game, though, the Easter egg game, the boil game, and do the
color the. What do we say? Christos Anesti?
Christos Anesti, Alatos
And then we
Anesti.
take the eggs and we crack them together, and whoever's egg didn't crack has the lucky egg.
That's
I
correct.
love that tradition.
We actually have a trophy.
What did you think of oh, really?
Yeah, it's a cheesy trophy where we put everybody's. It's a huge competition. We have
That's
probably
great.
23 people here usually.
I did not realize that you celebrate Greek Easter. That's really nice. And how's your mother, by the way, Steve?
Oh, this is
my mom's hanging in. She's 89, but she's still living independently in her apartment. But she hasn't left. It's a nice apartment. You know, we deliver her food. We put the stuff on the door. We go shopping. We leave it outside. We wipe it down. You know, we bring our mask up. I just leave it. Then we call her. But she's desperate for attention, as so many people. That's the thing that probably bothers me the most.
Right.
I mean, you know, Debbie and I have been married 40 years this August. And we don't just love each other, we like each other. We decided that. But at least there's somebody to talk to. And
yes.
my twins have, you know, they share a place, and my other daughter has a roommate. So there's somebody to talk to when you're housebound. But people like my mom and some of my friends' moms and those that are in, you know, isolation, I'd go nuts.
I know,
there's
it's
no
so
one to
hard.
talk to. You know, we
So
talk on the
hard.
phone, and we sort of jerry-rigged a FaceTime thing, but it's so we've done, you know, like the Pope. We have her come out on her 4th floor. She lives in the Hill Estates, and she comes out on the balcony like the Pope or the Queen.
Really?
And we're down
she's
there.
Healthy.
And
so
you know,
glad
we
she's
talk on the
healthy.
phone, so we're not yelling back into our 4 floors. But it's at least she sees us, and it's the best. I mean,
it's the best we can do.
necessity is
have
the
a
mother
pet?
of invention.
Does she
No,
have
no
pet?
pet, but we should get her. We should get her one, but don't tell the landlord. But you know, so you know, that's the tough part about this whole thing is the isolation.
I agree. Well, it's time to wrap this up. Unfortunately, I've really enjoyed talking to the two of you. I wish we could be in the same room. Hopefully, in the near future, we can all be together again. Maybe at that Christmas party that we were at back in early December for the autism fundraiser that was held by Dante Mazzioli. That was a good time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I want to see everyone in Belmont participate in this. It's called History in the Making. Send your photos and your video. You can email them to belmonthistory1859@gmail.com, or you can mail them if you prefer to the Belmont Historical Society, P.O. Box 125, Belmont, Massachusetts 02478. And there's also the opportunity to record history through an online journal that the Belmont Story Project is doing. It's a Belmont Public Library, Council on Aging, Belmont Media Center, and Citizen Herald collaboration, as well as the Historical Society. It's a collaboration, and it's a way of recording history. There's a link, which we will show on the screen, to go on the online journal. You can go on it every day. This is history. I also welcome people to submit their commentaries or their letters to the Belmont Citizen Herald at belmont@wickedlocal.com. Write down your thoughts about this time. It's history, and hopefully we'll get through this. Just don't lose hope.
Well said. Stay safe.
Thank you for
Stay
tuning
safe,
in,
everyone.
Definitely
Yeah.
stay healthy, stay corona-free.
We'll beat this.
We'll beat this. Bye, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you very much.